So now that we've got this group going, I'm going to drag the compressor onto that group track. Okay? So the way a compressor works, you have a threshold, and anything louder than the threshold is actually going to be pulled down, and then at the end you have a makeup gain where it brings everything up. So if you have a singer that sang a track and they have really loud parts and then really quiet parts, what'll happen is the loud parts, if they're louder than the threshold, will get pulled down. The quiet parts are quieter than the threshold, so they won't be affected, and then at the end there's a makeup gain and it'll make both parts louder. So essentially the loud part is back as loud as it was before, but all the quiet parts are louder. So it's essentially making the dynamic range of the entire thing less. It's making it smaller. So this is great on drums. It can make your drums fatter. Compression is great on pretty much everything, but it needs to be used with care. But I'm here to talk about sidechain compression. So if you open up this little triangle down on the bottom here, it opens up the sidechain section. So I turn the sidechain on, and now I can choose audio from the impulse drum machine. And so what happens is, when the drums go louder than this threshold, then the compression kicks in for the synths. So check it out. If I have the threshold really high, and we'll listen to the drums, it's the same as it was before. We don't really hear any difference. But as I bring that threshold level down, you can hear now that those synths are ducking. So if I can hear now, as opposed to if I turn off the compressor altogether, it's just one solid wall, whereas now they're kind of dancing. Okay? So by adjusting these different settings here, you can get really creative with it. Now this is using sidechain compression in a more extreme manner for effect. Let's take a listen to this remix of EEPROM by Beretta from the Glitch Mob. So if you're not familiar with these guys, EEPROM is killing it lately. He's got a record out on Warp, Beretta with the Glitch Mob. They've been blowing up for a minute now. The thing I love about Beretta's productions are his drum sounds always cut through the mix. His snares and lasers and kicks. Listen to that. Okay, jumping ahead to when it gets even heavier. Okay, so even though the track itself is incredibly heavy here with the synths and the bass and everything else, you can still hear the drum sounds clearly. And the reason why is utilizing sidechain compression. It's just that we're not going to use it in such an extreme manner. So going back to our example here, if I bring this threshold so that the level here is just barely going above the actual threshold, if I turn off the drum thing, you can hear it pretty much sounds like a solid wall of synth. It's not, you know, extremely ducking like it is down here. It basically sounds like the original part that I have. So if you want to have your part sound like it did, except now you want the drums to cut through your mix a little bit better, you just set the threshold level to be slightly less than the kick and snare, or whatever you're sidechaining to. Okay, so without it, you can hear the kick and snare don't cut through as well, but adding a little bit of sidechain compression can really help that.